Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this committee meeting of the Operational Services Committee. I'd like to welcome you all. The meeting is being live streamed. We will not pause the meeting if it should go down, but we will reconnect as soon as they can. Okay, agenda item 1, public questions. We have none. So apologies and substitutions, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Mark Inskip and Councillor Lorna Dupre is substituting for Councillor Inskip.
And welcome to Councillor Dupre. Do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor Trapp.
Should people who have rented property in ECDC declare an interest or not? Landlords.
Landlords. We don't have the monitoring officer here.
No harm in declaring it, Chair.
Yes, if we could, anybody who is a landlord, if they could declare an interest? No. I'm certainly not. No.
No.
Sorry? We have no landlords.
Thank you.
Is everybody happy for me to sign the minutes of the last meeting on the 26th of January as a true record at the end of this meeting?
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Right, Chair's announcements. Because this is such a huge agenda, can all members please make sure that any questions to officers are for questions of clarification only and just questions, not speeches. We will save that for the debate section, please. Now, and as Liz Every is held up, the Community Safety Partnership Report, agenda item 6, we will slot Liz Every in when she is able to arrive. So we will move on to agenda item 9, which is the Budget Monitoring Report. 7, I beg your pardon. 7, and we welcome Anne to the chair. Good afternoon, Anne. Good afternoon. Over to you.
So the Budget Monitoring Report for Quarter 3. This committee is currently projecting a year-end underspend of $229,000 on its revenue budget of $6.842 million. The capital is projected at $14.987 million. This will be in line with the revised budget. Any questions?
Thank you, Anne. Does anybody have any questions for Anne? Councillor Trapp.
Yes, page 24.
Could you put your microphone on, please, John?
Page 24, the mandatory disabled facilities grant is going up by something like 600. It's not being spent. Why is this not happening? It's the second. Sorry?
Okay. I think we answered this at the last meeting, but I will get back to you on the clarification on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for Anne? In which case, as this item is only for noting, thank you very much, Anne. You can finish early. We will now move on to agenda item number 8, which is the...
Hang on a minute.
Good Lord, it's been spirited away. Which is the ECSS business plan. Over to you, Emma.
Thank you, Chair. Members will be familiar with the format of the business plan, and it's a requirement of the Shareholder Committee that this committee approves the ECS business plan for 2026-27. I'll just take you through sort of the document itself, then I'll hand over to Nigel to do the finances, and then I've invited Andy to also just give an update as to, from the operational perspective, delivery of the new service, because that's the key focus for 2025-26. No, 26-27. Okay, so turning through sort of pages 28, 29, introduction through the background, and then we move on to the governance on page 30. There's no new governance arrangements for this year. It continues to operate in accordance with the shareholder agreement. Page 31 deals with the relationship between the council and the company. I'll come back to the financial information through Nigel. We've updated the risk management plan, which covers pages 34 through to 39, and just updated the risks as to where we are in the process, where we are. The then the business plan sets out, looking back to last year, what we've delivered. It was mostly about designing the new waste service, delivering the service, and then designing the new service together with the council as the client. The performance table is set out at 16, but I understand you have this as a regular report anyway. And then our focus for 2026-27 is on delivering the new waste service from June, and that will hopefully very quickly become new business as usual because of a successful rollout. So just Nigel will briefly take you through the finances, and then Andy, if you could update members on the service. Thank you.
Thanks, Emma. Good evening, members. So the financials on page 32. Staffing is higher now to increase the number of staff from 65 to 80. This covers the additional service and represents an allowance to cover sickness and holiday, so that there will no longer be a reliance on agency staff to cover that. On the non-staffing costs, the vehicle debt repayment increases to £915,000 in this year, following the investment by council in about £1.9 million worth of new vehicles. This is offset a little bit, reduction in maintenance costs. For example, the new vehicles will replace 6 2018 registered vehicles, which so far this year have cost us about £133,000 in maintenance to keep running. So obviously on the new vehicles, that'll be slightly less. Fuel has increased as there'll be additional vehicles on the road, and of course we have savings on the black bags of about £72,000 following the delivery of the bins. In the income line, we no longer have any income from residents for additional recycling bins, which in this last year accounted for about £93,000, but we still do have about £65,000 of income from collections of bulky waste. So that left the management fee that we required from ECDC to be £5,888,000, which is up from the £5 million that was required for 25-26, and that would then leave the company on a break-even budget for the year. Thank you.
Over to you.
Okay, we've recently done the round reconfiguration, so that's all set. We've started the recruitment drive. By the middle of next month, we should have employed everyone that we need to, so that we can start practicing all the new rounds. We've got a team that start the bin deliveries next week as well, so part of that, the guys that are delivering them are going to be learning all of the routes. So yeah, everything's in place for a smooth transition from the 1st of June. We'll have the right staff, we'll have the new rounds, and this is going to assist with street cleansing as well. Well, the waste is full, and then that allows us to do more on the street cleansing, so already.
Fantastic. I can't wait for my new bin, although I will not be using it until the 1st of June. Remind all your residents they are not allowed to use their bins until the 1st of June. Does anybody have any questions for anybody, either Emma? Oh, Councillor Goodall.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick one. With the recent price rise in petrol and diesel, does this also affect the price of HVO? And do we have the wriggle room to account for any rises in fuel?
Sadly, yes, it has affected the price of HVO. We've seen an increase of about 20p a litre so far. We took some action to try and buy some additional stuff just as the current hostilities started. In the new contract, the risk passes across to council for that, in that we will monitor how much fuel we use. The risk for volume of fuel used is with the company. The price rise, the risk is with the council.
Anybody have any other questions? Councillor Dupre.
Thank you. Just a few. Firstly, could I be reminded, please, whether ECSS is still a TECL company?
It is a TECL company, yes.
On page 28, there is a statement, two statements presented in the form of a Venn diagram. I'm just wondering what is in the very small overlap between the two sections of the Venn diagram, please.
Nothing. It's just an overlap rather than presented as an event. It's just an overlap of spheres rather than it's not supposed to have any text in the middle.
So it's a diagram that doesn't actually represent
yeah,
anything?
correct. Yeah.
Right, okay. Is that something that might be looked at for future iterations of,
course,
this
yeah.
report? Yep, thank you.
And I apologise. I never looked at it like that before.
I think it's more of an aesthetic thing, I would say.
Well, yes, but in addition to aesthetics, there is meaning, Chair. Just asking about the notes to the budget, finally, on page 33. The number of staff has increased to 80 in order to deliver the new service. From what? And costs by 616,841 to what?
So the number of staff this year will be about 65, going up to 80. And the cost increase is about £761,000 higher.
Sorry, it says 616,841 higher on page 33.
Oh, sorry, my apologies, I was just looking at the core staff in there. I'd have to come back to you on that, if that's okay.
Ray? No. Right, I am happy to propose this from the chair. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Chair, reserve right.
Does anybody wish to add anything further on this, or can we move to the vote? In which case, all those in favour of agenda item, the recommendation, which is to approve the ECSS Business Plan 26-27 as set out in Appendix 1, all those in favour?
That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. We will now move on to agenda item 9, which is the new waste collection service, the project update. Welcome, Nick.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
The update report is in the same format as previously, and it reflects very much where we are now. It probably doesn't reflect as much as what's gone in the last 3 or 4 weeks, where we've had a few bumps in the road, shall we say, but we are still on track for June the 1st. We've set the temporary distribution depot up in Littleport on time. Waste containers and ancillary items have been coming into that since last Wednesday, and delivery to households should commence next Monday. A full information pack will be provided to members later this week in terms of a bit more information for you, and also a copy of what is going to every household in the district as well. Your questions will obviously be more than welcome to the Waste Client team if you need to get in touch with us, but it's really there just so that you're better equipped to answer queries from constituents as they go along. Since the report was written, we've had some manufacturing delays which have delayed arrival of some of the food waste caddies, certainly not all of them. That has meant that we will lose much of our contingency period for delivery. But again, as I've said, we're still on track for the new service to go live on 1st of June. Mainly that's because our delivery contractor has stepped in and put another crew in. We pay on a per bin basis, so it's more people delivering for a shorter time just to try and get some of that contingency back as we go through. In addition, we're informed that 12 weeks would be the delay of our food collection vehicles. We've negotiated fairly hard on that, not least because we were very early in procuring those vehicles. We've got the arrival of those now back to mid-June, no exact date there, but we have also managed to get the manufacturer to provide us with loan vehicles at no cost to the council for the period from 1st of June to when the new ones arrive. Given the uncertainty still though, we are currently negotiating with another local authority and their hire company for further vehicles to cover that, just in case there are any further unforeseen delays. We think that that's sensible. it will inevitably cost us some money, but we want desperately to try and get out on the 1st of June if we can. We should have the hire vehicles from our manufacturer by the middle of May, and the project board has taken the view that the middle of May is probably as late as we can go to make a decision of yes, no, for whether or not we start on June the 1st. But at the moment, as I've said, that's where we are aiming for, and that at the moment is where we're on target for. Happy to take your question.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick. Does anyone have any questions? Catherine Holtzman.
Thank you. Given that there is kind of like quite a lot of uncertainty about the vehicles and the new routes that all have to be implemented, should these reports have a carbon impact assessment? Because currently it says no.
I think it's fair to say the council's got a very good record in terms of going to HVO on its vehicles, which is the biggest carbon input that we have, or impact that we have here. In terms of the delivery being late, I don't think that would be carbon assessed because it's essentially a contingency. It may be that for a very short time we're using different vehicles with a slightly different spec, but I don't think it's necessary for us to carbon assess our contingency because we're exceptionally limited on what we can get by way of contingency.
Thank you.
Councillor Goodall.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the report there, Nick. Just two quick questions. Now the waste containers are there, and you, as you say, on Monday you want to start the delivery. Is there a timetable to come out that the public will know about? And also the changes to the collection dates, when will them leaflets be out for the new bins and as well?
Sorry, in terms of the timeline for actual delivery from there, the period we said would be roughly 8 weeks up until the end of May potentially. That hasn't changed at the moment, so we're still within that. The exact days on which we'll be delivering out and at what times is really down to our contractor. They are broadly working an 8 till 8 day, an 8 till 6 day. Weekends are an absolute last resort for us to do that. So we're pretty clear in saying they won't be weekend working unless. But I think we're at that stage now where if there's a problem, then we need to resolve it on the hoof, really. So I think that's very difficult. In terms of the actual information when deliveries will start, and that information, there'll be a pack with every set of bins that gets delivered. The information pack is taped to the top of the bin, so you don't get your bin without the information pack. So all of that information, and I think there are 30 different permutations of what day and what commodity you're getting. So we're working through that very carefully, and that's coming out in bulk, but we're then splitting that on a daily basis for the delivery the next day. So there's a lot of effort going into that, but all that information is contained on the bin.
Thank you. Councillor Vellacott, then I've got Councillor Whelan and Councillor Trapp.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Nick. I know this has been an enormous effort, so thank you, I appreciate that. In terms of any communications that would be planned in the event, and I know you've said that the event of food caddy delays is not necessarily likely, but were that to happen, is there a comms contingency plan that we could let those residents who are affected know of the delay?
Yes, there is. I think the issue we will now have is most likely to be vehicles, and there's lots of contingency in there. I don't think we will be putting groups of containers out. If that was necessary, we've still got some contingency at the end of the rollout period for that. So I wouldn't speculate on what we've got, but yes, there will be contingencies in place, but they will be finessed, shall we say, as we go along.
Thank you, Chair. If I may, quickly. On the possibility of loaning vehicles to cover a gap in the delay for the food waste service. What specification of those vehicles? Is that an exact replication of the service that you'd envisage?
One of my operational colleagues behind me might be able to advise better. There's a slight difference in the way the waste goes into the vehicles. So that's really the only difference in terms of spec. Am I right in saying they're running on HVO?
They're 10-ton vehicles instead of 745. That's pretty much.
But it's substantially the same for the gap.
Yeah.
Not worried about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Whelan.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the contingency for any missed collections, have you got one in place for that?
When you say miscollections, you mean at the start of the new service. So we've got a minimum of at least one full crew available for every commodity every day. So the general target will be that anything that's not collected on Monday will be picked up on Tuesday by that mop-up crew. If we need more mop-up crews, there is the availability to do that. Fridays would be normally picked up on Saturday. So we're clear at the start of every week through the rollout.
Thank you.
Councillor Trapp.
Afternoon. Sorry, I should have answered this question earlier to you, but a number of my villages have said, what's happening to the black bags that they used to do from things like cemeteries? So they'd have a waste bin collection they'd have a waste bin in the cemetery, and they'd just put the thing in a small black bag and let it go with some household waste. What would that? Are there any contingencies for that?
My understanding is that the community collections that we do at the moment will continue.
Yes.
If you'd like to just drop me a line and just tell me which ones are of concern, then we can come back to you on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Does anybody have any further questions for Nick? In which case then, as this is for noting, we will note this. Thank you very much, Nick, and well done, and keep going. We now move on to agenda item 10, which is the service delivery plans and end-of-year reports. So over to you again, Emma.
Thank you, Chair. The report before you this evening is the service delivery plans for the areas within the Operational Services Committee terms of reference. What's presented here is the 2025-26 look back, and then the 26-27 look forward. So the performance measures in each service delivery plan reflect and focus on the key performance indicators for each service for the upcoming year. A new local government reorganisation performance measure has been included in all the service delivery plans, and this is in recognition of the work that needs to be done ahead of the creation of the new unitary authorities. The service leads are in attendance this evening if members have any questions, but I don't intend to have each one presented, so to answer questions from members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Emma. Does anybody have any questions for any officers on any of the service delivery plans, either last year or going forward? Oh, okay. Councillor Holtzman, and then John, then Martin, and then John, and then Kristen.
Thank you. So I have a question for the planning services, where it says that the tree strategy has been withdrawn because it's not fit for purpose anymore, and that's been ticked as green as it's been withdrawn. And I was wondering what the plan is to get a new policy in place.
That was withdrawn from the beginning of, I'm trying to think what year in, 2025, for the policy team to look at. New members of the team have come in and it's on their agenda to look at, but we didn't have any kind of baseline figures to incorporate for this year. But I can take that away to the policy team to make sure that there are plans to incorporate that moving forward.
Yeah, if they could send an update about what's going to happen, that would be nice.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. Would you like that by a certain date?
Well, I just think as soon as you have any information, if you could let the whole committee know, I'd be really grateful.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else, Catherine? No, well done. Good. Councillor Goodall. No, I think your finger went up first, and then it's
Okay.
Councillor. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Chair.
Then Councillor Chapman and Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, staffing information on page 53 how would a position be covered for leave and sickness where there is only one member of staff is one thing, and I couldn't see any ground staff for site maintenance or grave digging on that list.
Hang on, who's this for, sorry?
Bereavement.
Oh, the bereavement centre, Marissa.
Good afternoon, thank you. We are going to have a multi-skilled trained team that will manage the grave digging will be outsourced through Open Spaces. We'll have a full group of team, multi-skilled in the CREM technician role and customer service advisor.
The grounds maintenance?
And the grounds maintenance will be Open Spaces as well.
Open space, parks and open
With
spaces.
some of the team also multi-skilled in doing the odd bit of gardening here and there.
Thank you very much. Nice to know they can multitask.
Absolutely.
Councillor Trapp.
Thank you. Page 99, it's Customer Services End of Year Report. Whoever has drawn the short straw. It's just the customer satisfaction survey. If we split the neither satisfied or unsatisfied in half, you've got 20% were unsatisfied or very unsatisfied with the service they had received. That's slightly alarming, I think. That's 1 in 5. That's page 99 in the middle.
Is there a question, John, or was that a comment?
Well, the question was, is anything being done about that? Given that information, are you actually doing anything to redress that situation?
The statistics are improving. We're seeing improvement in the survey responses that we're getting back.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I have one, shall I have a further question after someone else?
Carry on, John, unless anybody else. Well, Councillor Colbert's been very patient. So, go on then, John.
Okay, page 136. I wasn't quite understanding what was said by 136. It's the first line. Although Sanctuary has in principle agreed to fund 180,000, so are they actually part funding some of this disabled facilities grant? So what's happening there?
Thank you, Chair. The statutory responsibility for the funding of disabled facilities grants lies with the Council. However, Sanctuary until now have made a discretionary contribution of 40% to those DFGs which are given in their properties for their tenants. However, the last year has seen a real delay in purchase orders coming through. They give initial approval, work is done, and then it's been very difficult for us to get their purchase order from them. However, last week we received almost, I think, £200,000 worth of purchase orders from them, which is clearly a year-end thing. We're trying to work with them to even that out a bit, but it's difficult. But there is commitment, there is still commitment there. It's just been difficult to get the process right for payment by them.
All right, I won't.
Councillor Colbert.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, mine's with regard to planning. We've got a couple of...
Christine, I'm struggling to hear you. If you could just pull your microphone, you're so softly spoken.
It's all right. Right, planning. There are a couple of targets not being met. One is with regard to determining all applications within 26 weeks, and the other one is talking about major applications.
What page number you were on, Christine?
Oh, I'm sorry, it would help, wouldn't it?
It would.
173 and 171, and delays in completing Section 106 drafting. I just wondered if is this a staffing matter?
In terms of, I guess, break them up into two sections. So can you hear me okay? So specifically in regards to the major applications, I've outlined what the specific delays were in relation to. So delays due to Section 106 drafting, some of that is in delays between the two legal teams because both teams have to come to an agreement. And then sometimes after they've come to committee, there's redrafting and things that needs to be done. Yeah. And then your other question was in regards to the 26-week determinations.
What page? That's the next page. Sorry, that's the 172.
Yeah.
91% are determined within 26 weeks, but not the remaining 9%. Is that anything to do with the same reason?
The target for 26-week determinations is to do with the planning guarantee. So in regards to that, we always put 100%. Whenever there has been an extension of time agreed, that kind of supersedes the planning guarantee. So I guess to make it clear, because it's in regard to sound financial management, all of those applications have had an extension of time agreed at some point. So is your question specifically in regards to the potential for refunding fees, or just in regards to delays in general? Delays in general. So a few of them are, back to my previous point, when they go to planning committee, sometimes there are kind of things that need to be drafted afterwards. We give the applicants opportunity to sometimes come back on some of the questions that might be raised at planning committee. We have some that have appealed for non-determination, so whilst that kind of appeal process is going through, I have itemised them all specifically. Was there a specific line that you wanted a bit more information on?
No, I think actually you've answered the question quite well. I'm on planning committee, so I've got a reasonable feel for what goes on. That's fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think what Ashley's saying very nicely, it says, is our fault.
I wouldn't be so brave.
Thank you, Chair. I've got one question. Excuse me. It's on communities and partnerships, so I don't know who's going to pick that one up. Page 71. Very pleased that with to see there's detached. It's Lewis. Detached youth. I thought it might be. Detached youth engagement work in Stetsworth, Ashley, Cheveley, Dullingham, which is part of my patch. So I'm keen to see, maybe outside the meeting, what engagement and what results you've got out of that. And the other thing is, and I know it's the Youth Fusion events. I know we've done one in Burwell and Hadnam, and I know it's Councillor Trapp's patch is Bottisham, but I'm Chair of Governors at Bottisham Village College, so I declare an interest there. I just wondered if at some stage we're going to do something in Bottisham.
Thank you. In terms of the locations of the detached youth work, we are aiming to ensure that we've got a good geographical spread across the district. As you've pointed out, we've been to the likes of Stetsworth, and we've also done it in various other places like Ely, Soham, Fordham, Whichford and Burwell, which the Burwell event took place just this month. In response to your query about what we can do with the feedback or the information that we gather from those sessions, what we do basically, we'll feed it back to the relevant team at ECDC or the parish council or a relevant organisation, whether that's a local youth group or whoever it may be, who's best appropriately placed to respond and deal with that, with the findings, and we can of course assist and support if need be, where applicable. In terms of the youth events, and again the location of those events, we've got a commitment to deliver one event in the next financial year. In addition to this event, we, as members will recall, this current financial year, we put together a youth event toolkit, which we put together and issued to all of the parish councils, local schools, community groups, and in case they wanted to run their own events. So that includes like a suite of information and resources and templates, things for them to consider around insurance and risk assessments, that kind of thing. So it may be that local groups or schools want to put on their own events, and if they do, we'd be happy to support them through the process and help them, as well as deliver one of our own. Thank you.
Councillor Sharp.
Can I come back very quickly? Thank you for that, and that's great. All I was going to say was, as well as being, I'm a Stetchworth Parish Councillor, but I'm also a trustee of the Ellesmere Centre in Stetchworth, which covers a number of villages. So, and we're always looking to try and get more for youngsters, for youth, so happy to work with your team to try and see what we can get there. But we'll take it up outside the meeting.
Yeah, brilliant. It's good that...
We've got the facilities there, and we're always looking to get as much, you know, it's from age 0 or age 1 up to age 80, 90.
I think he's pitching his case. Can your next Youth Fusion be in Bottisham, please? I think that's his pitch, I would think. Anything else, Alan? No. Councillor Whelan.
Now, back to staffing on planning now. So we're back to
sorry,
planning.
back your comma. Thank you.
Thank
you, Lewis. Poor Ashley. Come on, Ashley.
Do we have enough permanent planning staff, or are we still reliant heavily on agency and short-term contracts? And are they sort of experienced enough staff? And are the customers actually being made aware if there is a change of officer dealing with their planning application?
In answer to your first question, are we still reliant on contractors? Absolutely. In our team at the minute, we do have a number of contracted, so non-permanent planning officers within the team. We are attempting to change that. So over the last 8 weeks, we've been advertising for planning officers at all levels on a permanent basis to try and get more permanent members of staff into the planning department. We've got 8 interview dates booked at the end of April to try and rectify that. In terms of a change in officers, since I've worked in the planning department, the number of officers hasn't significantly changed. But when we do have a change of officer come in, we do try and make the process as smooth as possible. So when there's, I guess, some notice given that a contractor is due to leave us, we start the handover process there and then, so we get an update on all of their cases, specifically those that are at key milestones, especially if there's a lot of community engagement in regards to it, or kind of councillor involvement. And if there is an overlap between officers, they then sit down and do a proper handover of the cases. Where that might not be possible, the team leader does the handover on their behalf. We make sure that we save all of their files and records in regards to all the planning applications. Specifically in terms of updating applicants, all of that is done through the system. So as soon as we know the new officer who's going to be taking over that case, our first step is to update that on our internal system, and that will automatically update public access. From a proactive perspective, that does not result in a proactive letter sent out to that applicant to say, this is now your new case officer. But all of the internal records are updated. So if they were to phone up customer services, for example, and say, I want to speak to X case officer who's not there, they would be able to see who the up-to-date case officer is, and we'd make sure that they're spoken to accordingly.
Can I just come back on that? Sorry. So is that put onto the planning portal as well, the updated person?
It is, yes. So as soon as it's updated on our internal system, the two systems talk to each other, I guess is the most basic way to say it. So if we were to go and look at a case now which has been handed over, you would see the new case officer in the, I think it's other information tab on the planning portal.
Any further questions for any officers on any of the service delivery plans? Perfect. In which case then, I am happy, hang on a second, put my glasses back on. I'm happy to take this all as in one. I'm happy to propose this from the chair. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Chair, reserve right.
Okay. So all those in favour to approve the service delivery plans and note to the end of year plans in Appendix 1 for the following services: the new bereavement services, building control, communities and partnerships, communications, customer services, digital and information service, environmental health services, housing and community advice, leisure and active lifestyles, licensing, strategic planning and development management, waste and environmental services, and the new waste management. All those in favour? Thank you very much. And thank you very much for everyone. You can all go, unless you're needed later on. Mass exodus. Yes. Oh, and then there were half a dozen. Okay, now we are on to agenda item 11, which is the housing enforcement and financial civil penalties policy that has come forward.
Thank you, Chair. These are two operational policies which have come forward as a result of the Renters' Right Act, which is partially in force already. Much of its enabling legislation is there as well, but more is to come later this year. As many of you will be aware, the level of regulation in the privately rented sector has changed significantly, with a much tougher approach regarding non-compliant landlords. This has meant that our old enforcement policy is quickly becoming outdated and requires changes as described in the report. In addition, the newly introduced civil penalty regime, which essentially means that instead of going to prosecution, the council can impose a civil financial penalty on non-compliant landlords, which then saves us court time and all the rest of it, and also enables us to take those civil penalties to support the service delivery as well. There is a specific new legal process around civil penalties, and we need a new policy for that reason in itself, but we're also now partnering with an external legal partner, Justice for Tenants, who are set up as a not-for-profit organisation specifically to undertake, as their name would suggest, work on behalf of councils where they are going after non-compliant landlords. So the two are very much operational, and I would ask you to support as we would hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Nick on this policy? Councillor Brown, Councillor Goodall, Councillor Trapp.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Nick, and thanks for the papers. The papers are quite clear on who is covered, but I just wonder whether it would certainly help me, but for clarity, who isn't covered? Because I'm not clear from the paperwork whether this covers registered social landlords, the sanctuary housings of this world, or whether it doesn't, because at the end of the day, they're private companies.
Specifically, the main issue is seen as private sector landlords. However, the registered providers, the likes of Sanctuary and others, are increasingly becoming covered by housing regulation, which I think some of which the enforcement protocols will cover, but there is specific legislation around registered social landlords as well. So I think I'm right in saying that most of it would be covered by these policies. If I can, I'd come back to you with some more detail on that. Thank you. Yeah.
Councillor Goodall has withdrawn his question, so over to you, Councillor Trapp.
The pecking order. Fantastic. No, the question is on page 202. It's the paragraph above the 3 bullet points. It says something with may commence with formal action. I thought from 3.9 on 198, page 198, we have to have formal action. It seemed as if it was left over from the previous legislation. It was sort of legacy sort of thing here.
Would you mind, Councillor, would you mind, Councillor Trapp, if I just took that and gave you a written reply and copied the rest of the committee in?
Yeah.
I think the level of detail is probably too much for me to comment on at the moment.
I've made a number of comments here as well.
Okay.
There's another one which is, yes, the other comment, I assume that page 219 is something that has been copied out of some regulations. But the bottom of page 99 is about multiple landlords. And I wasn't sure from that whether, if there were multiple landlords, each would have the same fine, or the fine for that property would be divided among the multiple landlords.
My understanding is that each landlord can be, we can seek the same penalty from.
All right.
Because otherwise the landlords will almost use double jeopardy to say, well, I didn't do that, it was down to him, and so on.
Right.
But that's my understanding.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying. And I'll send you.
Yes, thank you, if you would.
All right, fine.
Do we have any other questions for Nick on this policy? We do need to vote for this. We are voting. Do I have a proposer for this?
Yeah, happy to
Councillor
propose it.
Sharp. And do we have a seconder for this?
Happy to second,
Councillor
Chair.
Goodell. So we are being asked to vote to approve the housing enforcement and financial civil penalty policies 2026 in preparation for implementation on the 1st of May 2026, and to provide delegated authority for the Director of Operations to make operational changes in this fast-changing area of regulation. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Nick. We're now moving on to agenda item 12, which is the Community Sports Facilities Grant. Welcome, Martin. Good afternoon, Martin. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so the report sets out the background regarding the Community Sports Facility Grant and provides the detail behind the recommendation to award Burwell Community Sports Centre £48,000 for a new sports hall floor. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Martin about this? No, in which case I will need a proposer. Do I have one? Thank you, Councillor Brown, and a seconder.
Happy to second, Chair, is that right?
Councillor Vellacott. All those in favour? Unless anybody has anything they want to contribute, in which case, all those in favour, raise your hands. What a wonderfully united committee we are this afternoon. Thank you very much, Martin. That was quick, wasn't it? Well done. Thank you very much. And now to agenda item 13, and welcome Marissa Rogers-Jones to her first proper committee.
Thank you, Chair.
Over to you.
Thank you. I'm pleased to present the rules and regulations for Lakeview Bereavement Centre. These regulations bring together legal compliance, environmental stewardship, and compassionate service. At the heart of these rules, there are 3 key points. First is dignity and respect. Lakeview is a place of peace and reflection and remembrance. The regulations set clear expectations around conduct, services, memorialisation, and the management of ashes to protect the atmosphere for our community. Second is the environmental responsibility. As it's a designated county wildlife site, the centre is managed as a natural meadow habitat. We restrict non-biodegradable materials, prohibit artificial tributes and unmanaged planting, and ensure that all memorials are sustainable and environmentally sensitive. This protects the biodiversity while preserving the site's long-term character. The third priority for us is the clarity and fairness. The rules clearly define exclusive rights of burial, lease terms, memorial permissions and enforcement procedures, a transparent complaints process and a structured enforcement framework to ensure consistency, equality and sensitivity in how issues will be resolved. Importantly, these regulations balance flexibility with accountability, allowing families meaningful choice, including natural burials, ash interments, chapel service, while safeguarding safety, legality, and of course the environment's integrity. In summary, this document provides a clear, compassionate and enforceable framework that protects families and the staff and preserves the lake view for future generations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Marissa. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Trent, their hand went up very quickly, and then Councillor Brown.
Yes, thank
and
you,
Councillor
Chair.
Colbert, in that order.
On page 286, I think there is a error with the metric and imperial sizes of the meadow natural burial, because it says 4 foot by 6 foot, and then the metric measurements are 8 foot by under 4 foot.
Thank you, Maria. That's a carpenter's eye, that is, isn't it? Who was next? Councillor Brown. And then Councillor Colbert.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Minister, for these papers, and please take these sort of comments, questions. I'm trying to be positive. I just think it might help things going forward. I've got a few. On page 270, where we're talking definitions, bearing in mind we all know that East Cambridgeshire District Council won't be here in the not too distant future, could we put in the definition East Cambridgeshire District for Council, East Cambridgeshire District Council and its successor bodies, something like that, save having to rewrite it when the council no longer exists. We've got a definition of council, the council being East Cambridgeshire District Council. I just think if we added the words in afterwards, council is ECDC and its follow-on authority. On page 273, where we've got opening hours, we're open to visitors 365 days a year. Again, I think it would improve things if we said subject to the visiting hours below. Otherwise, people are just going to read that and turn up whenever they like, and if they can't get in because it's closed because of the visiting hours. So could we just add in subject to the visiting hours below? Yeah, and again on office hours, offices closed on Saturdays, Sundays, bank holidays. I think they're now called public holidays, but also an Easter. Could we define which days we're referring to as Easter? And finally, from me, on page 274, all vehicles section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th bullet point: vehicles must not be left unattended for long periods of time. Do we think it would be better to put in an actual time period in there, whether that be...
Do you mean overnight?
Well, it just says long periods of time. What do we mean by long periods of time?
Councillor Brown, I take note of what your comments are, and I'll take them away and send a review.
Thank you. I hope you're taking them positively.
Yep, if you could send round the reviewed points to all members of the committee, I'd be grateful. Thank you, Marissa. Councillor Colbert.
Thank you, Chair. If I can refer you to page 289, please, Marissa. Under direct cremation, about halfway down, I don't believe it says what you mean, because it says that funeral directors and bears must wear an appropriate uniform, and I think that should be bearers.
That is a slight typo. I
thought it was a typo.
Yeah, bearers.
Yes, I know.
So we're not going to have any bears in uniform then?
Well, I can dress up as one
Well,
if one would
okay,
desire.
thank you very much. And then put a uniform on, fair enough. Any other questions for Marissa? Councillor Goodell.
Thank you, Chair. This wouldn't happen until about a year after we've opened, but would it be possible to have a book of remembrance on the date opened, the date of people's date of death? So when people come back for the anniversary, they know where to go and they can read that and see what plot it is, because a year later after the interment, memory does fade a bit, or the plot changes where they are interred.
That is something that we're reviewing at the moment with the Book of Remembrance, and I'm sure that's something that we can consider.
Any other questions for Marissa? Oh, Councillor Venables, sorry.
I've been on the list for
Sorry. Can't
That's
read
all right.
as well.
I'll forgive you, Chair.
Multitasking.
Marissa, welcome to East Cambridge District Council. I can see your passion for this project, so I'm really happy that you're here. I have two questions, if I may. The first is relating to memorialisation and also the laying of flowers. So my understanding is that the burial area is a protected meadow, so that area won't be touched. You won't be able to put memorials on that location. Could I have clarity about where you can leave flowers, a commemoration, after the initial period, after the funeral? So I'm talking about after the initial 14 days that are in the policy. And could you also give me a bit of information about how and where memorials will be placed on the site?
Thank you. Indeed, I can. So in terms of your latter question with regards to memorial plaques, the area which has been designated for the natural burials is a meadow. And because of that being a meadow, we don't want to change the character of the meadow. So by installing memorial plaques, that would absolutely interrupt the natural habitat. So to avoid that, it's much easier to have designated areas. So the site will have clear areas designated for someone to memorialise their loved one. In terms of the flowers, so as you quite rightly said, there's a 14-day period after the service, and usually within that period the flowers have, excuse the wording, died down. Once the flowers have perished, they will be removed from the site and recycled. However, after that date, families will be able to leave natural flowers on their loved one's grave, providing there is no plastic, no oasis, and it's all kind to the environment.
Follow-up question?
Thank you. Can I come back on a slightly different point to do with the pet cemetery? How is is that on the same area of meadow? Because forgive me, the site plans don't come to mind, and in particular, are memorials proposed for that area of the site as well?
The pet cemetery is something that's coming slightly later on. We're working on that policy at the moment. However, with the pet cemetery, it's in a completely different area of the grounds of the site. It has to for legal reasons, but there will be memorialisation in areas designated for that around the site, but that's yet to be confirmed.
Thank you. Any further questions for Marissa? I'm happy to propose this from the chair and the... Oh, do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that, Chair.
Thank you. So we are being asked to approve the Lakeview Bereavement Centre Crematorium and Natural Burial Rules and Regulations as per Appendix 1, and to delegate authority to the Crematorium and Bereavement Service Manager to implement non-material changes and manage the rules and regulations as the operational standard for the site, including day-to-day decision-making and enforcement in line with the approval framework. Can I have a show of hands for this? All those in favour? All those against? All those abstaining? In which case it is passed. Thank you very much indeed. Done. We now move on to agenda item 14, which is the Public Space Protection Order, Vehicle-Related Antisocial Behaviour. Who wants to go first?
Thank you, Chair. In November 2025, this committee agreed a draft Public Spaces Protection Order known as a PSPO to address vehicle-related antisocial behaviour and approved the proposals for public consultation on the draft PSPO. Consultation has now taken place and a summary of the findings can be found at Appendix 1. 88.1% of respondents either strongly support or support the implementation of the PSPO. In response to consultation feedback and with the agreement of the police, the draft PSPO has now been updated. The proposed changes can be seen in red text in Appendix 2. Members are requested to 1. Note the PSPO consultation findings at Appendix 1, and 2. Approve the implementation of the draft vehicle-related antisocial behaviour Public Spaces Protection Order at Appendix 2 for a period of 3 years. Thank you, Chair, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Emma. Does anybody have any questions for Emma on this? Councillor Goodall, Councillor Brown, Councillor Dupre. Did you?
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. What evidence will be required to enforce the penalties, and who gathers this evidence for the council for the enforcement of the fines?
Thank you. The police will be responsible for gathering evidence. They will gather the evidence, they will review that evidence, and they will then determine if a breach of the PSPO has occurred. Once they have determined that the breach has occurred, they will then ask ECDC to issue a fixed penalty notice. And in terms of what the evidence might look like, it may include things like body cam footage, mobile phone footage, witness statements, CCTV, that kind of thing. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Oh, Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Two quick questions, please, and thanks to the papers. In recommendation little 2, it says we're doing this for a period of 3 years, so my questions both relate to that 3-year period. Firstly, how do we make sure that that date isn't missed 3 years down the line? And secondly, what's the process after 3 years? Do you need to reconsult, or can it just be rolled over, or just because I don't know the system?
Thank you. We will be very mindful of when that 3 years is up. We will be monitoring activity very closely in terms of the number of fixed penalty notices that are being issued and the impacts that the PSPO and hopefully the benefits that it's having on the community, should it be agreed this evening. In terms of what happens at 3 years, it doesn't automatically expire, but it must be reviewed by the local authority, and the council must decide whether to extend, vary or discharge, basically end the order. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dupre.
Thank you. I know this will be very welcome indeed to residents in Sutton and surrounding villages following the many years of vehicle-related antisocial behaviour at the Elian Business Park. So I very much hope that this will be a success. I'm glad to see the public behind it, and I would certainly want to support it. My question is that the paper and the order make no reference at all to CCTV. Is it the intention to support the gathering of information by means of CCTV, and is that something that has been considered?
Thank you. In terms of evidence, CCTV is certainly something that the police can use and may wish to consider. If the committee wish for officers to implement the PSPO, we will basically go away now and formalise processes internally and amongst ECDC teams and also with the police. In terms of processes with the police, we will define what evidence they require and can use to determine if a breach has in fact occurred, and CCTV is something certainly that they may wish to use as part of their evidence base.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, I don't want to preempt you, but I was going to say, can we add this to a forward agenda item so that all committee members and members of the public are aware of exactly what it is the police are going to be requiring from residents and businesses alike? Councillor Dupre.
That would be useful. My further follow-up question was whether the use of CCTV in this situation and for this purpose would require additional permissions and orders and regulations and so on, and would that need therefore to come back to this body?
Thank you. I guess that level of detail is still to be bottomed out. At the moment, we basically received the request from the police. We then came to this committee last November asking if members wished for us to consider going forward with this, which obviously the committee did. We then had to carry out some statutory consultation, which we did with statutory and non-statutory partners. We are obviously presenting the findings of that consultation to committee. If members this evening wish to proceed with the introduction of a PSPO, we'll be having those conversations with the police around those processes and those particulars in terms of data control, data management, that kind of thing. All of that needs to be factored in. We've got it on our radar that we need to be very mindful of such considerations, certainly, and we'll be factoring those into the conversations that we have. And I guess, dependent on those conversations and how those materialise, we'll then need to, I guess, decide if it does require any additional consents or permissions.
Just to follow up on that, Chair, specifically we would need to consider any RIPA considerations, so we'll take that up with the Legal Services Director outside of this, just to make sure that it's covered off, because without it, it makes things difficult.
And can I just ask quickly, in view of all of the work that we're now being told needs to be done once we determine this tonight, how long will it be before we see this actually being implemented?
We're looking at summer this year.
So hopefully it could possibly come back to the June operational services, or is that too soon? Is that ambitious? I like to be ambitious. I think this has been such a problem in certain communities for such a long time. I think November update, is that really?
That's the one after June.
Oh, that's true.
We have a September meeting.
We have a September meeting, so...
September works.
Well, see what progress you make, Lewis, and if you can get the police to act really quickly, you know, we'll fit you in whenever we can, and if not, we're just, you know, with all speed, I think, because I think certain communities have been blighted by this and would welcome a swift action, really, basically.
Apologies, microphone. Just on that point, in terms of communicating with communities, local businesses, parish councils, what evidence is required, we will of course be putting together a full communications campaign and awareness raising campaign in advance of the PSPO. It will be signposted around the district, and signage is one of the tasks that we'll be looking at as next steps. Thank you.
Did you want to add anything, Emma, before I blunder on? Okay. Oh, Councillor Vellacott.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and thank you for setting out in 4.5 of the report how the place is going to progress. So I'm very happy with that. They've not raised anything alarming or new for me tonight. The question I had, actually, Councillor Brown picked up an interesting point, which is that the PSPO lasts 3 years, and of course we're only expecting to exist on authority for 2. My understanding is that the way these matters work is that the police investigate the matter and then authorise the council to charge the penalty charge notice. Do you have any information, and I'm appreciating how up in the air it is at the moment, about which points the power will be handed over to the new authority, whether that's a shadow power or something that we can expect at the end of East Cambs District Council's term?
Thank you. It's a good question. Again, that level of detail is one of the things that needs to be bottomed out in terms of next steps.
Thank you. That's absolutely fine.
Do we have any further questions for Lewis or Emma on this particular item? We do need to vote on this, so do I have a proposer?
Thank you, Chair. Propose the recommendation as written.
Thank you, Councillor Vellacott, and do I have a seconder?
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Goodell. Okay, so we are voting to note the PSPO consultation findings in Appendix 1 and to approve the implementation of the draft vehicle-related antisocial behaviour public spaces protection order at Appendix 2 for a period of 3 years. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Thank you, Lewis and Emma. Well done. Thank you. Okay. So we now move on. Yeah, you can stay where you are, Lewis. We now move on to the Voluntary Sector Support Services report from Lewis. Over to you, Lewis.
Thank you, Chair.
You're not. You're not Lewis. And you're not Emma.
No, my name isn't there.
Oh, how shameful.
In January 2024, this committee agreed to award a grant of £39,530 to Voluntary and Community Action East Cambridgeshire, which I'll refer to as VCAEC, for a service level agreement from 1st of April 2024 until 31st of March 2026. A review of the grant has been carried out and is located at Appendix 1. The review includes an options appraisal which sets out options available to the Council. For the reasons set out in the review at Appendix 1 and Option 1 of the options appraisal, members are asked to, firstly, note the review findings, and secondly, award a grant to VCAC to support the delivery of services via a service level agreement from 1st of April 2026 until 31st of March 2028. Thank you, Chair, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions on this particular item? I thought it was a very encouraging report, actually. They seem to have really found their feet in the last 6 months, so it's nice to see. I'm going to need a proposer, but I am happy to propose this from the chair. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Chair. Second, is that all right?
Thank you. I'm going to note the review. We are asked to note the review findings and to award a grant to, I hate this acronym, VCAEC to support the delivery of services via service level agreement from the 1st of April 26 to the 31st of March 2028. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Now, it would appear Liz Every is not going to make it to. You think you two can go now, can you? You can go. Yes, you can go and lie down. It would appear that poor Liz Every has been unavoidably seriously detained, and we have sped through the agenda much faster than we thought we were going to. So if I could get Emma to introduce the report, and then she can take away any questions members might have to the chair of the Community Safety Partnership team, and then she can let us know what the and then we can get a written response to any questions. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you, Chair. As you'll know, the Operational Services Committee is the scrutiny panel for the Community Safety Partnership, and as such, we provide a report for every 6 months. And I would like to open up to the floor any questions for me to take away on the report in front of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. John, was that you waving your hand? No. Oh, you were just Councillor Goodell.
Thank you, Chair. Just two little questions, really. What is meant by identified vulnerabilities, and what are the improved access and positive outcomes in the report?
Any questions? Any other questions for Emma to take away? No. In which case, then, can you let Liz know? Fully understand, and we will forward this. We'll put this on the forward agenda for the next meeting.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are we still? Do we just have to note the report, or is it just for noting? Happy to note. Thank you. Now move on to agenda item 16, which is the minutes of the meeting of the ARP, which took place on the 9th of December. Again, this is just for noting. If we're happy to note and then move on. Thank you, everybody. So we then move on to agenda item 17, which is the forward agenda. Obviously, we're now going to have the CSP report added onto that, and anything else that comes forward. If the yes, the update that Lewis is going to come forward with an update on the PSPO. I don't think there was anything else coming forward, was there? No, nothing else. In which case, then, I will draw this meeting. We need to move into closed session. So do I have a proposer for that? Councillor Goodell and a seconder? Councillor Brown. We will now move into exempt session for agenda item 18. Oh, so we need to vote. I do beg your pardon. I never always forget this. All those in favour? Sorry. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
11 votes in favour.
Thank you. And all those against? Those abstaining? What are you abstaining or voting against? You're abstaining. Okay, thank you. So the vote is carried. We will now move into